I lost 6 kgs in 6 weeks and now I've upped my calories by about 700 per day without gaining any body fat. Transitioning from your fat loss phase to your bulking phase can be quite confusing, but it doesn't have to be. So here's my current full day of eating plus my top 5 best tips to make sure you can do this correctly. Now, it's important to keep in mind that when you are transitioning from a fat loss phase to a bulking phase, when you increase your calories, your body weight, so your actual scale weight, it will increase. And that's because you're gonna have more food in your stomach, you're gonna have more glycogen, which is carbs and water stored in your muscle cells, and that's just gonna make the scale weight go up a little bit. But for the most part, if we do it properly, we can keep the body fat levels at a minimal, especially at the start. So kicking the day off with my morning coffee, as usual, the ritual. And tip number 1 sounds insanely simple, but it is very, very important. And that's gonna be to get as lean as you wanna get first before transitioning your calories back up and entering a maintenance or a lean gaining phase. Now, I know that sounds a little bit silly, like obviously, but you'll be surprised how many people and how many guys I speak to pull the cut too early because they're too eager to get into the bulk, but they don't actually get to the low levels of body fat they want to get to, or they start the bulk with a little bit too much body fat than they want. And then what happens is they put the weight and body fat back on too fast. Then before they know it, they don't like the way they look. They didn't enjoy the bulking process because they didn't actually see any muscle being gained. And then basically they just have to end up going back into another cut too early. And I've made this mistake multiple times. So we've got breakfast going down, protein oats. I don't think I've eaten anything else but protein oats for breakfast for as long as I can remember, most days anyway. But more importantly than that, tip number 2 is going to be to increase your calories by about 10 to 20% from the amount you finished on your fat loss phase. So for example, if I finished on 2100 and I added back 400 calories straight away to 2500, I believe that's like a 19% increase or about there. Everyone is going to be slightly different on this, and depending on how fast you want to start adding calories back and how fast you want to go like transition into your lean gain phase, this will depend on you. My tip would be, if you want to go slower and really like be cautious about not putting on any body fat, then I'd go more towards like just starting with 10% calories, because you can always just increase more as the weeks go on based on your progress, based on your weight, your progress pics and stuff like that. Tip number 3, and our pre-workout snack. It's Sunday, hit a leg, so I wanted to get another little pick me up. Iced almond latte, about 90 calories, and a banana for some extra carbs before we go and train. And that is gonna lead me to tip 3, is to put those extra calories to good use. Again, I know it sounds like a very simple tip, but it's often overlooked. When you're going from a fat loss phase and you're increasing calories into your lean gaining phase, ideally going into your sessions, you'll be able to get more rep, you'll be getting stronger, you'll be able to push more weight, and ideally you'll be recovering better as well. And in my opinion, not nutrition related, but that's why I think it's very important to have a training program or some structure. So when you go into the gym, you actually know what you're doing, you know what you did the previous week, the previous month, and you can look at those numbers and reps and you can go, all right, I'm gonna get an extra rep this week, or I'm gonna go up to the next weight, or whatever it is, and making sure that you actually are building muscle with these extra calories coming in, and you're not just doing the same thing over and over week and week and week. Because the easiest way to know that you're not building muscle is if you're lifting the same weight for the same amount of reps week after week after week, but your calories and body weight is increasing over time. That's a pretty sure way to know that you're gonna be gaining fat and not muscle. Post-workout meal / lunch. Honestly, legs absolutely cook me, but today we have a simple chicken salad with some jasmine rice, 2 boiled eggs, and then to get some extra carbs, one of these coconut waters, which these are insanely good. And that leads me to tip number 4, which is going to be to keep 80 to 90% of your daily diet and structure very, very similar, if not the same. One of the massive mistakes that I used to make when I would go from my cut to a gaining phase is I would literally get rid of like all the food I was eating, and I'd bring in all new options because I thought it'd be the best way to kind of get into the bulking phase. But honestly, it was the worst way, because not only does it flip your routine upside down because you're so used to eating similar meals, it also, well, at least for me personally, put me into that like, oh, I'm bulking mindset. So instead of making smart choices, I'd be going for way more calorie dense stuff, which I definitely didn't need to be doing. And then, you know, my calories were actually 500 to maybe even 1,000 higher than what they were before, yet I was finding myself still hungry when I shouldn't have been. So tip number 5, my messy ass kitchen and dinner. We got some very, very simple spag bowl, not very aesthetic at all, and some pathetic veggies. I'm trying to up my greens intake, trying to get some more veggies in, but it's obviously not going according to plan. But anyway, tip number 5, what we actually care about is going to be, you want to approach this transition and your lean gaining phase with the same consistency and compliance that you did in your fat loss phase. Basically, you want to make sure that you don't fall into the I'm bulking mindset and end up just eating like a hippo, because I've done that plenty of times before, and you're just going to stack stack on way too much body fat too fast, you're gonna hate the bulking process and then you're gonna have to diet again way too soon. Honestly, in my experience working with a lot of people and our team and myself, unfortunately for most people, not everyone, but most people need less calories than they think in their lean gain phase. You ideally just wanna be eating a tiny bit above maintenance calories so you can put on as much muscle as possible, put a lot of the focus into training and not just blow out, and like I said, just eat like an absolute hippo. To finish the day off, we have the meal you cannot skip: dessert. This is honestly my favorite meal of the day, every single day. We have some protein, Oreo, Ninja Creami ice cream. I'll throw the recipe, everything how to do it on screen here. And that brings me to round out the day with my bonus tip, and that is to simply enjoy the process. Make it something that you can stick to for the long term, because if you actually want to consistently build muscle, make progress over time and keep a physique that you enjoy and not just yo-yo and bounce from putting on weight, taking off weight, putting on weight, taking off weight and doing yo-yo diets and all that kind of stuff, you want to make sure that you actually enjoy the food you eat, you enjoy the process, and you can sustain it long term. And that can be a lot of different things with the food you eat, how many times a day you eat, your schedule, how easy the foods are for you to prepare and all that type of stuff. Hope that was helpful, and if you like these type of videos, let me know, and hopefully you like this one as well.